International manhunt is right now underway, with Queensland Police confirming the suspect who allegedly poured hot coffee on a baby has fled the country. For more, let's bring in former Queensland Police Officer Terry Goldsworthy on the Gold Coast now. Terry, thanks so much for your time this morning. So an arrest warrant has now been issued. How tough, though, will it actually be to track this guy down now?
Yeah, good morning. Yes, look, the police in Queensland have taken out an arrest warrant after they've realised that he's left the country, and that is for the offence of acts intended to cause grievous bodily harm, which, as you mentioned, carries a life imprisonment penalty up to. So what will happen now is the police seem to have indicated they know what country the person has fled to. The first question will be, is there a bilateral extradition agreement with that country? Some countries we don't, China, Iran, Russia, etc., we don't have agreements with. So that will be important. We do have mutual assistance systems that we can use in those countries if we have to in terms of investigations. But I suspect what the police will also be doing will be applying for a red notice through Interpol. So even if he leaves that country or travels, he's then subject to being detained and arrested on the warrant that the Queensland Police have taken out. So there are things that will be taking place. The AFP yesterday announced that their fugitive apprehension strike force is now involved, and they've been quite successful since they were formed in 2021. They've located 41 fugitives internationally, so there will be a fair bit happening behind the scenes.
It's so frustrating, isn't it, Terry? Because we know from police that apparently they were given the wrong name and then they were only a matter of hours behind the scent on this guy. They also allege that he used counter-surveillance to flee the country. I mean, it sounds pretty troubling. Can you explain to us what that means?
Yeah, look at the timeline. I think 27th the attack happened, 28th he was in New South Wales at some stage, which in itself is interesting. You know, why was he in Queensland? I think on the 31st he left the country and the police identified him formally on the 1st of September, so it was quite close. In terms of counter-surveillance, that's an interesting comment by the police. I would take that to mean that perhaps he's doing what he can not to leave a digital footprint as he moves around the country, you know, not using cards, perhaps using false rego plates so it doesn't trigger the registration plate recognition system, using false identification, etc. You know, being very aware of CCTV when he goes into a garage to pay for fuel, or is at public railway stations, things like that, wearing a hoodie or a hat. So those are things you can do to make it more difficult for police to track you. And look, I've had jobs when I was in police where you can track people up and down the eastern seaboard through electronic means, phones and etc. It's an excellent tool, but if someone is actively preventing you from accessing that tracking ability, it becomes quite difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this whole thing has been so heartbreaking for the family, right? There isn't a person in this country who hasn't been left outraged by what's happened to their innocent little boy.
Yeah, look, the thing that I think many people can't get their head around is motive. You know, what was this done for? And you know, I studied evil as my PhD subject, you know, something I like to look at. But, you know, we kind of talk about things being evil when we can't rationalise them, when there's no obvious motive, when the victim is innocent of causing any provocation and things like that. And I think this case is one of those perfect examples where you've got a young child and a random act occurs that is quite deliberate from the evidence we've seen so far. And that is what troubles people, that why someone would do that.
Yeah, it is. It's evil and it's disgusting. Terry, thank you so much for joining us today and your insight. Appreciate it.